In this chapter, we're going to be looking at the view classes of our application. Remember, the view class controls what the user sees and is dependent on updates of the model. My view class here is saved in the MVC folder, so it's in the MVC package. So we'll create the class. So we'll declare that it's in the MVC package. And it's a public class called view, just like the name of the file, capital V. And just like the model class we created, this is going to be a view class that can be extended to add specific functionality. So this is going to be the view superclass. And this class isn't going to extend any other class. So I'm going to write some curly braces there. And before we move on, I know I'm going to be using the event class in here, so I'm going to import the event class. Right above the class declaration, import flash.events.event, capital E. And then inside of the class, we'll declare the constructor method. So public function view, no parameters, and that's it. I'm going to declare one private property right above the constructor. And that's going to be called underscore model. The data type of this is going to be a model. And then we're going to use get and set methods to make the model property public. So we'll only be manipulating the true model, which is underscore model, the private property, in the view class, but we'll give access to it through public get and set methods. Let's define those get and set methods now. First, we'll define the set method. So public function set model. This is not going to have an underscore. Remember, this is going to be the public version of the property. And some parentheses, and it's going to need to receive a model to set the value. So type M, data type it to a model. It's going to return void. And then inside of the method, we're going to set underscore model to the value that's passed in as M. And then we're going to add an event listener to listen for the change event. So it's going to be model underscore model dot add event listener. And the event's going to be model, which we don't have to import because it's in the same package as the view class. Dot model, all caps, underscore change, also all caps. Then we'll run a method called update. So another advantage to using get and set methods is that we can run a block of code instead of just setting a value inside of the method. So by setting a model, we automatically add the event listener to that model in here. So that saves us a step when we're using the view class. So below this, I'm going to define the get method for the model, and then we'll define the update method that's going to run whenever the model is updated. So we'll declare a public function called getModel. Doesn't have any parameters. The return data type is going to be an asterisk. I'll tell you why in just a minute. And then some curly braces here. Now, why on earth would the return data type be asterisk? Well, inside of the method, I'm just going to return underscore model. Now, though through polymorphism, a slideshow model can count as a model, we don't want the data returned from the model to be just a model. We want it to be whatever data type the subclass is. So we want it to be a slideshow model when we're using a slideshow model, and a regular model if we're using a regular model. Now, you don't absolutely have to do this, and there's some ways around it, but this just makes it easier when we're writing the code later on. So all it's going to do is just return underscore model, and again, that could be an instance of the model class or an instance of the slideshow model class. The last thing we need to do is define the update method. I'm going to define that right above the set model method. So this is going to be a public method called update, and it's going to receive an event with the data type of event, no return data, so void in there, and we're not going to put anything inside of this method for now. The update method is going to occur whenever the model is updated. So whenever the data changes, we're going to update the view. So the view is completely dependent on the data of the model. Here we're not going to define anything. We're going to leave that to the subclass to define. Also, let's say we wanted to update the view for another reason. Maybe the model didn't change, but we still want to update the view. In order to run an event handler method without causing an event, we just have to make sure that this event parameter has a default property. So if we run update without passing in an event, then the method will still work properly. All we have to do is just initialize this to null in the parameters area. So event with a data type of event with a capital E equals null. So if no value is passed in when the update method runs, then it will still work properly. And that is our view class. And now we're ready to extend the class and add specific functionality to it.